O-O-T-C. Hey, that's cool.
You got a podcast?
Well, I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Now you do.
Welcome. We're back. Oh, that's cool. OTC's very own podcast, where we meet and talk to all the fantastic people we work with here at OTC. I, of course, am Jared Durden, and with me, as always,
I'm still living the Table Rock life with you here. This is Andrew Crocker on behalf of all political science instructors here at OTC, and on behalf of the rest of you, the faculty and staff, as we get to know many of the people and the personalities, the glittering personalities that make up the tapestry of the Ozarks Technical Community College culture. How are you doing, sir?
Ooh, that was good.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that great?
Do you think of yourself as like the political science ambassador?
I do, yeah, absolutely. I remember way back in the day, you and I were just looking in this conference room that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. Does this conference room have a name?
The conference room.
There you go. The conference room
Yeah.
here at Table Rock. At the conference room, there is a picture of the OTC. There's like an OTC Foundation picture, and it shows a picture from, how many years ago? I got to say, this thing's got to be 15 years old, is what I got to say. Rob Bleffins.
There are some very
like
young
child.
faces that look a little bit different nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, why was I bringing that up? Oh, because one of the people I see is the late, great James Witt. So important in my development here at OTC. He has since passed on. And at the time I was hired, he was a lead instructor. That different departments had different, departments had lead instructors. I don't think we do that.
They kind of governed the adjuncts and made decisions about curriculum and such.
That's right. Now, I am not a lead instructor. Emotionally, I consider myself a lead instructor. I rally the troops at the top of the hill before we take the ridge. Yeah, very Civil War style I am. That's how I see myself. Are you just you're not a cog in the machine? You're rallying the physics department, surely. Is that right?
Oh, we're kind of
Get behind me, guys.
I don't know. I feel like we're all, generals. So
is that how you describe the physics department at OTC?
Yeah,
just a collection of generals.
Absolutely. I think everybody kind of has their own place and does their job to kind of rally each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that these days a lot of the folks we bring on as adjuncts have not been adjuncting for super long, so they kind of need their hands held a little bit in the early going. And Kara Griffin now is a full timer, and I've helped her a little bit along the way. But that's how I see myself. I'm just get behind me, guys. Hop on my back. I'll get us across the finish line. Yeah.
We'll have to have Kara on and see.
She'll confirm everything I'm saying.
Of course.
If she knows what's good for her, she'll confirm everything I'm saying.
So we are still at Table Rock campus on our grand tour of all the centers that make up OTC as we fight our mission to better the Ozarks.
Yeah, I hope we do that too. I really do hope we get to see every single campus. Yeah,
absolutely. And I like the idea of coming back and meeting everybody. And today, of course, we have another fantastic guest, Devon Ellis, who is also a longtime listener of the podcast, which we're always happy to hear about. How are you today, Devon?
I'm doing great.
Are you meeting your heroes right now? Is this like meeting your heroes?
I am. I'm so excited to be here today.
We have been voices in your ears for like a year now, and now you're face to face.
Well, to be honest, I have listened to all your podcasts probably in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, that's fine.
I didn't know it existed.
2 weeks is a good. You've binged.
You
binged the show.
I binged pod.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, this is what you got to tell all of your friends, all your colleagues.
That's right. Now, Devon, I think you were very fair, and I agree with you. I'm right there with you when you say that a couple of these podcasts you had to fast forward through because they were. I'm right there with
names.
you. I'll straight up say a name. Grayson Forsey knows what he did to me. He knows what he did to me. He came here and he gave me the business on NFTs, and my head's still swimming. My head's been swimming for months.
I'm going to stick up for Grayson. That was a fantastic episode. Great, yeah. It was very informative. Maybe just take a second listen. All of our guests, I'll stick up for them.
Yeah, 100%. He did an outstanding. I loved talking to him, and we need to also thank him for all the help, technical help he's given us over time.
A chance to remind everybody too that we did turn that episode into an NFT, and it is still for sale. No one has purchased it.
I looked that one up too.
Did you?
Still not sure what's going on.
Ethereum's not doing too great right now, but it is still available for purchase.
It's a blockchain, Devon. It's a blockchain. It's a blockchain. That's all it is.
You learned.
Yeah,
okay.
I can.
Got it.
So, Devon,
my least favorite thing about because sitting through that conversation was a little bit like sitting through Spanish for me, because when I took the most irritating thing about taking Spanish, I'm clenching my teeth when I say this, the most irritating thing about taking Spanish was that your Spanish instructors, at least when you get to like Spanish 3 and 4, it's my fault that I didn't understand Spanish enough and I was still signing up for those classes, but they speak Spanish. Like,
Right.
I need you to tell me what we're saying in English, because I for some reason, that part of my brain cannot operate, the part where I translate everything I say into a whole different language. I felt that way a little bit in the NFT conversation.
Well, the funny thing about that is I go off on rabbit tracks or
Yeah.
something, and so I'm starting to look it up while I'm listening.
Yeah.
What is this? And looking at, NFTs for dummies, and I still can't figure it out. And in walks one of our instructors into my office, and he says, "Hey, I have this great idea. I'd like to propose a class that we could teach at OTC. And it's about Bitcoin and NFTs." And I'm
How
like,
serendipitous.
Are you kidding? And he said, "No, I'm serious." I said, "Come here, look at my computer screen. Look what I'm looking at right now, and I still don't know what it is."
A class on cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Now, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Now, Kara Griffin and I did have an idea. Her and I both co-sponsor Politically Active, but her and I did have an idea for starting a second club that we just didn't have time for. And it was like a life club to help people figure out let's have a meeting, figure out how our car works generally.
Yeah.
If there are some common car problems, how can you fix it? How to manage your checkbook better. People don't use that word anymore, but how to, a classic example, how cryptocurrency might work. How I still, as a grown man, barely understand my healthcare plan. Okay. So I like that kind of stuff would be, I think, useful, but I don't know. Maybe that's something we circle back on at some point.
Sounds like a plan.
So, Devon, tell us about yourself. So before we talk about your relationship to the college, just tell us a little bit about who is Devon Ellis.
Well, I am a native of Branson, Missouri. Lived here my basically entire life, over a half century. I won't tell you my age, but yeah. And I grew up, my parents were school teachers. My sisters both teach and taught school, still do. And I'm one of the few non-educators as far as instructors in my family, but I'm, of course, still in the business of education and have been for over 20 years now. And I grew up here in Branson, went to Branson High School, graduated from Branson, 12-year senior, all that good stuff, and went away to college but came back, and I'm still here. And I'm still here. A lot of family in the area. I grew up and spent a lot of time here. A lot of my time has been spent here at OTC.
And what is your position here at OTC?
Well, I am Dr. Rob Griffith's administrative assistant. That's where my position has evolved to. It's not where I started, but that's where I'm ending. So,
And tell us a little bit about this evolution.
well, that will go with talking about my involvement with OTC. Back in 2001, I got a phone call from a friend of mine. Her name is Mary Parent. She taught at the Branson schools, and she had a friend named Sue Moore. And Sue Moore was the dean over, I believe she was dean over continuing education at the time. And Mary said, "You need to go talk to my friend Sue. She's got a job and you're perfect." And I went, "Okay." So I drove up to Springfield and met with Sue Moore over at the used to be continuing education office, which I believe was in Graff Hall maybe at the time. And we sat down at her desk and she talked to me for maybe 20 minutes and said, "Okay, you want to start on Monday?" And I'm like, "Whoa."
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, that was back before we had, committees.
Yeah.
And the whole, pony show that we have now.
What was going on in that conversation that you inspired confidence in her that quickly?
They were desperate.
Okay, well, that helps.
What it was, they decided, OTC decided to rent the old school building in Branson, just off 6th and College Street, near downtown. If anyone's familiar with Branson, Chick-fil-A. It's not very far from Chick-fil-A now. It wasn't there then, but that was a farm there back then. But anyway.
Dr. Griffith said to ask you about starting in the basement of a school with a folding table.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Okay.
And it wasn't a folding table. It was a metal desk
Okay.
from
Show some respect.
1960.
There's a metal desk, Jared.
And I had a beautiful orange office chair that was atrocious. That was very comfortable. And but anyway, we leased the building. It was an old school building, and we leased the downstairs classrooms. And then the office was actually the breezeway when you come into the building. And they built a plywood wall for my office wall and put a desk. They found an old desk somewhere in the basement, and that was my office. And my job to start off with was answer the phone and transfer calls to Springfield. But we did have continuing education classes in some of the 2 classrooms that we had. Classes like photography or beginning Spanish, not credit, but and my job was to print out the rosters, hand them to the teachers, and open the door and lock the doors when they're coming and going, and then send all the paperwork up to Springfield. So that's how we started down here at the Branson area. It was the Branson Education Center.
This was 1980.
This is 2001.
2001, okay.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I always thought you guys started around the time the Springfield branch did, but no, I guess it would have made some more sense.
No, it was about 10 years into. I was at the.
It's just hard to realize now that 20 years ago was still in the 2000s. Like, that gets me sometimes.
Some of us are, yeah.
We're as close to 2000 as we are to 2044.
I realize that's scary.
Yeah.
But some fun facts about that building is it was infested with bats. I don't know if Rob
Bats?
told you the bat
He
story.
didn't mention that part.
Oh gosh, yeah. When we moved into that building, it had not been used for a long time. And some backstory: when I was a kid, I grew up in Branson. My father taught high school. That particular building was the high school for Branson back in 1960s into the 1970s, before they built some more buildings. And my father was a science teacher. He taught earth sciences and other sciences, and he's a whole story in itself. I'm good with stories, but anyway.
You're in the right place.
One of the things that he did, he was the caving teacher. I mean, he taught geology. But
sorry.
Not the caving teacher, but we had a caving club, spelunking.
Oh, sure, yeah, okay.
Going in a cave, caving, spelunking. And he was the teacher that hosted, what do you call that? The sponsor teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a caving club, and we would go into caves everywhere. And being the only girl in a group of boys going in a bunch cave with my dad always was really a lot of fun. Bruce Urshan was one of my high school buddies. We got to hang out in Marble Cave in the middle of the night, go into all the places that you normally don't go, brought a guitar, all that good stuff. We had a lot of fun back in the 70s, So anyway, he used to catch bats. I don't know why, but he liked to collect animals. And as the science teacher, a lot of kids would bring in, oh, this possum got run over and here's baby possums. Or here's a snake we found. So his classroom was full of animals, including bats. Including bats.
Well, bats look a little freaky, but they're actually, in the grand scheme of animals, not that bad to humans.
No, they eat mosquitoes.
Yeah.
They're good things. But
you can pluck them with your hand. I mean, I would not touch one with a 10-yard pole, but I know intellectually that you can actually just reach out and grab.
Yeah, and maybe some carry rabies, but that's not a real common thing actually. So anyway, my theory is he probably started the bat colony back in the 70s. I don't know. But
so you're thinking maybe they got left in the classroom and then continued on after it closed?
Perhaps. Who knows? I don't know.
We need to bring back a caving club. We need to get on the horn with Robert Clark.
Well, here's the problem now.
Get Green Council to do some of that caving stuff.
So many caves have so many regulations with the insurance and liability that you just can't really get into caving like we did back in the 70s. We would just go on trespass and do a lot of caving. A lot of caves, if they're on personal property, you might get in trouble. So I don't know that we do a lot of things like we did back in the back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of caves. I can tell you a lot of cave stories too. There's
a little bit of caving options in Springfield. Up in Springfield, we have
you've got some great caves
at
up there.
Sequiota Park. You can canoe into one, a kayak or something floating.
Yeah, they host a little. There is an issue though to be aware of that. Part of that regulation is about white. There's a disease that
harms the bats.
That harms the bats that has to do with encroaching on their territory. White something I can't remember. What it's
just what Devon's talking about. Back in the 70s, people hit up
we
caves
didn't care,
willy-nilly.
Let's go to caves. I don't care.
Times were crazy in the 70s. People just went into caves back in the 70s. Nowadays, yeah.
But every morning we'd come into the building, and there was a janitor that was hired, left on staff from when the school had the building. She was a very elderly little old lady, white hair. Her name was Iva, and Iva and I would walk through the building every morning and trap the bat. She didn't want to kill him, so we would, get a bucket and put it over it and slide paper underneath, flip it over, and take it outside and let it go.
That's good.
But we had so many bats, we finally called a company, Critter Control, and had them come and put a bat valve on some of the exits in the building, up in the eaves. There's vents or something, and they would trap the bats, and the bats could go out, but they couldn't come back in.
I gotcha.
So eventually, we kind of got rid of the bats. But another fun fact about the building, besides all the bats, was the electrical system was probably built when the building was original, probably in the 40s or the 50s, maybe.
Yeah.
But the fuses, they had those glass fuses, and there was a soda machine, and it was miserable hot, so we had to put a window unit in my little office space, so I could tolerate being there. And we had a copy machine, a computer, and a phone. If I had to make a copy and I forgot to turn off the air conditioner, it would blow the fuse in the whole building.
Oh.
And then we'd have to go down and turn on, get the new fuse and put a new fuse in so we could have electricity again. And so that building was a lot of fun.
Sure.
But the funny thing is, I grew up in that particular building. As a kid, my father taught in that building. And then it was junior high back in the 70s after they built the first high school. And as a student, I was a kid there, and then they changed it to fourth grade, kindergarten, something. My own children went there, and then I get the job with OTC, and here I am back in the same building. And that building was haunted, just so you know too.
It was wait, hold on.
Oh my gosh, yeah! One time I was in
haunted.
There. Yeah, there's ghosts in there or something.
You said it very definitively. Okay.
No, I'm not really like.
Give us your
my experience with the ghosts
yes.
in the building.
Yeah.
Well, we had a computer lab. It was the first room at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
And, late in the afternoon, I would walk through. Everybody's gone. Nobody's in the building. I monitor who's in there. And I would go through and lock all the rooms up. And I went into this computer lab. We had probably 10 computers in there, and those big, anyway. But it's a long hallway, and all the doors to the classrooms are recessed back into a little alcove, and then the doors in the back, because there were lockers down the hall and they had to recess them. And I stepped into that computer lab, and I was shutting them all down and clearing out the room. And as I'm in there, I heard this just a really loud thump, and I turned around towards the door because it came from the door area, and there's a penny on the floor spinning, like someone had thrown a penny into the room. So immediately I stuck my head out into the hallway, very long hallway, not a soul in sight. And I went through, looked upstairs, downstairs. There was not another person in the building. I'm not sure how a penny got.
Is it bat related?
No, that was after they got rid of all the bats. Unless the bats were, I don't know.
The problem is the bats were keeping the ghosts away. Did the penny create the sound? Or there was the sound
it had,
that
hit the wall and fell on the wall and was thumped. It was the sound was something thumped into the wall and then landed on the floor. And when I looked down, what was that?
I'm not
Here's
comfortable
a
with this.
spinning
I'm really
It was
glad
weird,
this is a
yeah.
well lit room. I'm not very comfortable right now.
Yeah, you should have been in the basement of that place. It was really creepy. But but the tornado hit that building and tore it down after we were out of it. But anyway, one of the reasons we left that building was because we had some handicap issues. We had a gentleman that was wheelchair bound, an electric wheelchair, and the only way to get him to his classroom was through a back hallway in the back of the gym, unlock 3 or 4 out. I mean, it was just like a maze to get to him and to get him into that lower floor. So because of handicap issues, we decided it was time to do something different, and that's when we moved to the mall. And basically my role was one-stop shop, continuing education. Then we added an English class, and then a few 4-credit classes, and then just kind of started building those. And then got, the handicap issue moved us to the outlet mall off Gretna Road, and did that for a while. And I was student services, custodian, bouncer, you name it, I did it for a while, and we got more help. And by the time we moved over here, which was in 2013, I love our students, but I was ready to not work directly with the students every day, all the time. So I ended up moving behind the scenes, and I'm quite happy to be behind the scenes as an administrative assistant. And
Like a puppet master pulling the
and the funny thing
strings.
is, I don't know that I'm like a normal administrative assistant with what we do here. I do a lot of every budget. I'm shipping and receiving. I'm scheduling. A little bit of HR thrown in there. Just all
You do what needs to be done.
all the behind the scenes stuff. That's what I do, and that's what I like to do.
I got to say, your digs have improved since our bat-infested, ghost-haunted place before. What about the new building? Is somebody who's worked in? I've worked in a few dilapidated, old, breaking down buildings myself, and it's just people that have worked in those office environments. Now you're working in like a state-of-the-art building. What's like a couple things that the rest of us shouldn't take for granted about like the modern office?
Well, electricity.
Reliable electricity. Okay. Yeah.
Well, air conditioning. Lack of animals in your office behind the curtain,
Yeah.
True story. Well, yeah.
At the Springfield campus, for me, it's always the iced coffee. There's like 7 different spots in the Springfield campus. If you are ever hankering for an iced coffee, which I am like twice a day, you're at the right spot. You can go get them anywhere.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. I don't get out of here much. Yeah.
We don't suck you up to Springfield occasionally?
I try real hard not to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm happy to stay close to home, and fun fact, I have been staying close to home my whole life.
Yeah.
Living in Branson my whole life, and it's a good place to be.
It's interesting. We just got a completely different perspective. Not that long ago, we were talking to Rob, and he's been many places. He moved around. He actually he did not have the experience of even staying in the same space for 12 months till he was like well into grade school. So that's kind of, and I'm kind of the same way. I've spent almost my entire life in Springfield. And one thing that Rob really tried to stress that I want to add an addendum to is he was like, wherever you happen to find yourself, get out. Try to get out of there occasionally. Now, I don't know how much you agree with that particular message, but I agree with it as well. I got out of Springfield a couple times, and I just came back both times. I liked Springfield more than the other places I worked. But I do think it's important to get a little, outside the community culture into you. Yeah. Now, you yourself, do you agree or disagree? As somebody who has been pretty much anchored to Branson.
I'm a homebody, including homework. This is home. OTC is my home, as well as Branson is my home. But I do like to go places and see things and do things.
You're wearing a shirt right now. I've been to that same place. It's
I
called
was hoping to go
Breckenridge.
there.
Yeah. Is that one of your favorite places to vacation to or try?
Well,
Breckenridge,
actually,
Colorado?
anywhere skiing, anywhere snow. One of your podcasts, you guys started a little bit about the snow, and that is truly one of my passions. Snow, anything snow, sledding. I still sled.
I still sled, yeah.
Oh man, tell you what, this hill out here.
Oh, you know, it
Yeah, I
actually
bet it
does.
is.
Don't tell security though. And I may or may not have ever take my sled to work and off hours, before or after.
I know where we're coming during the next
I'm
big
telling
snow.
you. Yeah, there's
We need
a
to throw
nice
a
little
big-
sledding hill out
Yeah,
here.
I'll have to bring my kids
but
to
we're
the
not
next
gonna
episode.
tell anybody, right?
That's
Right.
sure, yeah.
Oh, I was going to suggest we throw an OTC sled party up here.
Well, I've been told that that's against policy or something.
Oh.
I don't know. I was told no.
Come on, grounds people.
So no, I think it's more safety and security.
Safety and I mean,
I don't know.
again,
You might
that's
get
risk
hurt.
assumed.
I don't know. People
That's
get
risk
hurt
assumed.
sledding. Not to mention, this scar right here. Yeah, that's sledding. No lie, actually.
Oh, no.
Snow-related skiing. I love to ski, and people are always surprised because I'm a chubby old lady, and guess what? I love to ski, and I'm pretty darn good at skiing.
What slopes do you go on?
Oh, next week I'm
Yeah.
on vacation. We're heading to Bryan's Head, Utah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Some good skiing there. My son lives in Vegas.
There's
and-
mountains in Utah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's some good skiing.
I
in
only know
Utah.
them for like the plains and the lake and stuff, but there's mountains. Huh?
Oh, there's mountains.
Oh, yeah.
There's good skiing in Utah. They
Okay.
had the Olympic stuff in Utah once.
That's
Park
a good
City,
point.
have-
Salt Lake City,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you ever go
yeah.
to Salt Lake City, you
Oh, man,
can't
there's
miss the
some
mountains.
Serious skiing there.
Should've known that.
Colorado, Las Vegas. You can ski 40 minutes north of Las Vegas at Mount St. Charleston. It's called Lee Canyon. Pretty good skiing there. And St. Louis.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about St. Louis, it seems like. but Hidden Valley Ski Resort is just up there near Six Flags, Eureka. And I don't know if they're doing it this year, but I haven't checked. But Wednesdays in February, if you have a college ID, go up there, half price. You can ski on Wednesdays for half price with the college ID.
At Hidden Valley?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've been up there for skiing. It's Missouri skiing, not Colorado, not Idaho. Idaho's great skiing, too.
Will you take us on a skiing episode? We'll go skiing with you.
Oh, man,
You'd show us the slopes, and then we'll come back here and complain about how hurt I am.
But any excuse to ski, I'm there.
Am I crazy that I seem to remember from my youth that there was like a ski slope in the Ozarks?
Brighton, Missouri, just north of.
Is it still there?
No, and
Okay.
it was crummy. I skied that one
Okay.
too once.
And that was like man-made, right?
Yeah,
Like,
man-made
was it
snow is
natural
what I
snow?
heard.
Well, the time I went, we had no school that day, and my dad and I took off and went up there. And if you know how to ski, it was you ride a lift for 5 minutes up the one hill and ski down in 2.5 seconds.
It's pretty. Yeah,
Like,
I
really?
went a couple
Come
times.
on,
It was
this
just
is-
like a straight down.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And if you know what you're doing, come on, really? That's why they're not there anymore. It wasn't very good skiing. But, I funny thing, I grew up skiing since I was a kid, and I grew up in Branson, and people go, what? But my dad worked out at Canico Mechanic Camps. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
No? Okay. It's a Christian athletic camp that's based out of Branson. Summer camp for kids whose parents want to send them to sports camp. And my dad was the bus driver. And every winter they had a trip to Colorado, Breckenridge. We went to Winter Park. We went to Steamboat Springs. Every year, he would load up a bunch of kids whose parents wanted to send them on a ski trip. And the bus driver would bring his kids, and we were wearing our farmer overalls to ski in. And he would drop the well-to-do kids at the front gate, and then we'd go park the bus, and we'd ski all day. And I learned to ski when I was a kid and went every year.
That's great.
And skiing became my passion. And then I went to college in Idaho, Grand Targhee ski resort in the Teton Mountains. Amazing. So I've got a lot of ski stories if you want ski stories. But yeah.
There you go.
many injuries. I've been to the hospital multiple times with injuries.
What was your worst ski injury?
Pardon?
What was the worst ski injury?
The worst one. That's an easy one. I was in college, and we were in Grand Targhee, Teton Mountains, Wednesday before finals, before Christmas. And my dad sent us, my sister and I, some ski money. What did we do? We ditched classes to go skiing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd been skiing hard all day. And, last one down to the parking lot buys the gas. We had a group of us, And I was winning. I was in the lead and hit some ice, lost an edge, fell. My ski didn't come off as it should because it was frozen to the boot, ripped my knee. I had major tendon repairs on my knee and a long time in physical therapy. Incredible scar. That was back before they did scoping, where they just make the little...
That's right, yeah.
Cast, here to there for finals week in college. So
oh wow,
it was. I took a couple of my finals from my hospital bed. A couple of teachers gave me incompletes, and I think one of them said, "When you come back, sometime you can come take the finals." And got through that, and that was the worst. But in spite of that, man, I'm still on the slopes every chance I get. And my son even had a ski accident at the same location, within 100 yards of the same place.
Wow.
What, 20, 30 years later, maybe 25 years later. He did a jump, which he wasn't prepared for, and landed on his back and did some damage. But I wasn't with him when it happened. I had taken a short break. And anyway, he never came back, even though I sat there, watched, and have a picture of it that I didn't know that was him on the slopes. And found out much later when I was filing a missing person report. They had taken him down to the hospital in Driggs, Idaho.
Did they do that thing that where they rescue you on the side of the hill, on the side of the mountain, where they put him in a little pea pod thing or whatever? They zip him up and then they ski him all the way down.
And they skied right in front of me. I saw that, but I didn't know it was him.
Are the big...
You wouldn't have, right? Because he's in the pod. He's zipped up in like a gigantic sleeping bag, essentially.
Yeah, on a toboggan thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Are like the Beethoven dogs with the little barrels on their neck a thing anymore?
I've never seen any of those on the ski slopes. No.
No, we are speaking to each other in the middle of February. Winter Olympics are going on. Yeah. Because of your affinity for
Are you a fan of Winter Olympics?
Yes, I love the Olympics. I have not had the opportunity to watch very many. We went to, app TVs where you have to pay your apps,
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, sure.
And NBC makes you do the, where you pay the extra to get to watch the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to watch them until I had to go to my mother with the emergency room in the middle of the night. I got to watch the Olympics.
That's great.
Because you were telling that story, it made me think of... it's one of these skiing events where they're going as fast as they can down this crazy mountain. They're off the hill some of the time. They have to go zigzag between flags. And I think it was the slalom because there was a women's event. Uh-huh. Did you read about this? 4 of the competitors all skidded out and smashed into that mesh netting at the exact same spot.
Bad spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch out for that spot.
Yeah. And some of those folks, they got up, but a couple had to be put in the pods, and
yeah, skiing's not real safe sometimes, but
that's the fun of it, right?
I know. Yeah, that's the thing. I've been an adrenaline junkie my whole life, and now that I'm older and wiser, it's hard not to be one.
The worst skier, I have only been skiing a few times. The worst skier I've ever been with is my wife, and she says, I don't know how true this is, may just be an excuse. She says she can't ski with any miles per hour at all. She's 1 mile per hour the entire way down the side. And she says it's because she's like, I've just spent so many time in surgeries. My wife works at a hospital. I spent so much time in surgeries that all I can see going down the mountainside is the horrific injuries that will occur. I don't know how much of that's accurate. I think maybe she's just coming up with excuses.
You have to get out of your head to ski good. Yeah, just don't overthink it. Just go. Yeah.
There's the message. If she listens to this episode, and that's a coin
get out
flips
of your
chance.
Head.
Yeah, get out of your head.
Oh, just FYI, there's an app you can put on your phone that will clock your speed when you're skiing.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, my son and I love to ski together. His wife's not a big fan of this, neither is my husband, but they don't ski much, at all. But let's see how fast you can go.
Oh, Devon, you are looking at the genesis of a Winter Olympics team. Our good friend Jeff Johnson is starting a curling team with.
There's not enough adrenaline in the curling. Sorry, I watched it last night.
I gotta feel it a little bit with those guys working the brooms.
I'm all for the skeleton. I want to do the skeleton.
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list.
That's with the sled.
The little tiny one.
Yeah.
You lay on your stomach face first, and you just go down the ice chute.
The ice chute,
Hope you don't die.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh man. Can you imagine? Wow. Yeah. That's where I want to go. That's on my bucket list.
I would try it.
Parachuting. When I retire, I'm gonna figure out.
Parachuting's fun and a little closer to home.
I haven't done that, but it is on my list.
I would suggest it. It was. I enjoyed it.
I would like to give that a shot one of these days.
I can see you, Devon. I can see you biathloning. Do you think you could?
What are the two in that?
You are cross-country skiing.
No, wait a minute.
And then
cross-country skiing is stupid.
So wait, you are cross-country skiing, and we punch it up.
There's
with
no
little
adrenaline.
firearms.
There's no rush, and
there's the rifles.
No, you got to go fast.
You ski and then you
out of
rifle.
Control. You get that just out of control edge. You know, just a little. Once you hit that, I'm out of control feeling. Just past that. That's where you want to be. That's when you can ski good. Yeah. Sorry.
It's all right.
Get me on that topic. I have a hard time shutting up.
So, we've learned a lot about you already. One of the questions that we like to ask, though, is there a hero, someone you look up to, an inspiration in your life that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that question, and I've got 3 different lines to go with.
Please.
And I don't know if you want me to go with all 3, but I'm going to start with the most, I think, near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to say healthcare workers right now. I have a daughter who went through OTC nursing program. Shout out there for our program. And she is a nurse here at Cox. And
here in this area?
Yeah, Branson. Branson, yeah. And then I also have a son-in-law, not her husband, but my other daughter's husband, who went through medical school and is a doctor. And just knowing what goes on in a healthcare's life in their home family, they're my heroes, and we should all appreciate that. I've seen and heard, behind-the-scenes stuff, from my daughter at the hospital, and some of the things that, especially with COVID, it's been really rough on those people. I think the burnout rate's really high. Turnover's huge right now. The ones that do stick it out get to work many extra shifts, and that's what I've seen my daughter do, my son-in-law. Both of them have 4 children. My daughter, that's the nurse, has a 1-year-old baby, and she total of 4 kids. And when she's constantly having to pick up extra shifts, and knowing what's going on at her house with her baby, doesn't get to see her mama very much because she's working she works nights, weekends, and my son-in-law, her husband's also a big hero because they keep things taken care of at home, so all of our healthcare people can go and do what they do every day. And I don't think a lot of us really realize, unless you have family members that are in that field, what sacrifices are being made by our healthcare providers. My other daughter, her husband's a doctor, fairly new. He started up at Mercy in Springfield back in July. Finally finished medical school and rotations and residency, and they've been all over the country, and they finally got their dream job in Springfield and live in Ozark, and she's taking care of 4 kids, and just seeing the sacrifices that they make for their families to be able to go take care of other people. And I just mentioned watching the Olympics at the hospital actually last night. We've had incident of someone in our family with COVID going through the emergency room back in July, and a little frustration because the care that my mom received was less than perfect, And but on the other hand, I see my daughter, the nurse, on the other end of that stick. And as she said, I don't know if I'm going to. She says, my best work right now is about a C plus maybe. That's the best work that any of us have right now in healthcare. We like to give A work. You know, if you're grading our work, you know, letter grades like we do here at college, the best they got right now is C plus work. And you're receiving C plus work when you go to the hospital. And it's hard to be okay with that as a patient or the patient's daughter sitting there next to her. But on the other hand, those poor healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, technicians, all those folks, they're doing the best they can, and they have kids at home, and you know what a sacrifice those people are doing for us right now. It's impressive, and I think it's overlooked sometimes. Maybe not completely, but you know I have a very personal experience with that, and I get my grandchildren every Friday after work in about 3 hours from now, and I keep them overnight so they can have some, you know, time where they're not having to be quiet because the mom's getting her rest because she's got to go back to work tonight.
Yes.
And they come and play at grandma's, and we do lots of fun stuff. So that's my other passion is my grandkids, but we won't go there because skiing's right up there with.
Yeah.
But skiing usually wins out on the conversation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
People, you know, their eyes glaze over when you talk about the grandkids.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't notice that their eyes are glazing over when we're talking about skiing because...
There is a big canyon between how much fun it is to be with your grandkids and how much fun it is for other people to listen about the grandkid experience.
I recognize that.
Yeah, because
totally
same thing.
recognize that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go there, but I have great grandkids.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun.
How old are they?
I've got 10. 2 of them live in Vegas, so I don't see them often.
Okay.
But the other 8, I have 7 of them at my house every Friday night, overnight, and they go home at 4:30 on Saturday.
Are they Encanto aged?
We've got the ones that come to my house start at age 3.
Okay, so you got some Encanto fired up in your home then.
I've got all. What?
The movie Encanto. It's a movie that kids can't get enough of.
Okay,
right?
yeah. Oh yeah, we've seen that.
My kids can't get enough of that.
They're into Warrior Cat role play.
Okay.
Warrior Cat.
Warrior Cats.
Role play Warrior Cat. Okay.
Oh, that's the big thing right now for the kids. Whatever.
Okay.
You know, I don't know what that's about.
You're not going to give us a look inside on what Warrior Cat role play is all about? I know nothing
Well,
about
I know it involves medics and nests and poor little Corbin's always crying because he doesn't want to be the medic, and they always, Corbin, you have to be the medic. I don't want to be the medic. I want to be the mystic cat.
Yeah, so these are classes, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'm getting a little kickback
Well, there's a
from
whole
Dick
series
Wells
of
on this.
kids' books that's out, which I thought I would read one just to see what they're doing, but couldn't quite get into it.
All right.
But it's serious. Yeah, the ages 4, 5, 8, 11, 11, 13. And then we've got a 1-year-old that doesn't sleep at night, so he doesn't get to come to Grandma's house yet. We'll wait. So, You know, I've heard you ask the question about the playground.
Mm-hmm.
I was
got an answer for that too.
I was hoping you'd ask me that.
Well,
one.
sure. Okay. When you were back in school, you're on the playground. What is your favorite go-to game or fun time during recess? Merry-go-round.
See how fast you could get that thing
I
to go.
knew it.
Here it comes back.
I knew it.
Go
With the thrill-seeking again.
Yeah, and the teeter-totters, man, you could bounce people off those things if you know what you're doing.
All good physics. I talk about this in class.
Yeah.
Again, this is in earlier times. By the way,
Back in the 70s.
This makes it more extreme too because you were probably you weren't playing on the soft plastic playground.
These were hard metal
with the rubber floors.
Actually, monkey bars.
Yeah,
so I've got a scar right here.
Yeah, I think I made
that
two.
That was monkey bars at the playground at the school. Backflips off the monkey bars.
I couldn't tell you how many times I just landed flat on my back too and lost all of the air. You know, when you hit the ground like that.
Or swing. See how I can get it. See if you can.
That's
go over the bar. Oops, over the bar.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's why my knees now sound like a rain stick when I walk up the stairs. I used to jump off at the highest point and land right.
Yeah. We had extreme playground play back in the day. They don't do that stuff anymore.
They might not have even had the wood chips for back then.
No, actually they didn't. It got very muddy.
Yeah, it's just flat out dirt. What were they thinking?
With rocks,
putting us out there?
With rocks.
I don't know if I believe
There
that
was
they
a
don't
rock.
do that anymore. I think they have to work a little harder to get in as much danger. But I like to think that they're still seeking those thrills. They just
Well, fun fact: I have a 40-foot slide at my house.
oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah, a real metal one. It used to be behind the old school building in Branson.
Oh, that's cool. And you got to
And
rescue it?
I did actually, and we put it up in our backyard, and did a lot of research on the physics of slides and what angles you should have slides to get the correct velocity.
Oh,
But
cool.
Just so you know, and if we would have put it at the angle that was recommended on, someone might die. So we lowered it a little bit so it's not as steep. However, if you get wax paper on a metal slide,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, you can get some really, really good
When I was
speed.
15 and a half, my first job was as a ranger at the play place in front of the Battlefield Mall. I don't think it's there anymore, but that McDonald's had a big giant, one of the first big play places. And so it had the giant plastic slides in it. And one of our jobs, besides hosing down the ball pit when kids peed in it, was to clean the slides, and we'd wax them. We'd stay overnight. We'd wax them with Armor All, and then ride down them on a plastic tray, and you would shoot out of those things.
Yeah.
that's. Do you remember? We were coming up. You came up in Springfield, right? You remember Discovery Zone? That
Oh,
used
yeah.
to be just a place that was just nothing but. It was like a supersized
Yeah.
McDonald's Uber playground.
It was slides and tunnels and pits and.
That thing was crazy town.
It was.
I loved that place. That was great.
We do have an age minimum requirement for the slide at my house for wax paper.
For the wax paper,
Yeah.
what's the age limit?
You have to be at least 4.
That still seems
fair.
young. It still seems young.
So pliable
Hey,
at that age,
I'm working
though.
on having my grandkids have the same sense
Yeah.
of.
Tell me you force them to wear long pants, at least on summer days. Because if you had to wear shorts on those old metal slides, your legs would be. You'd get the.
It's
Start
in the
halfway
shade.
up. It's in the shade.
It's in the shade.
All right.
Yeah.
For part of the day, at least.
Yeah. Sometimes we put water on it and a little bit of dish soap. Yeah. Okay.
So the big question: Gumby versus Mr. Ed, battle to the death. Who wins?
Okay. I'm ready for this one. This is a good answer. Joe.
Fantastic.
Well, did you know that Mr. Ed died in 1970, and he's buried in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, about a 4-hour
did
drive
not know
from
that.
here. I know this.
Now, this did not happen as a plot of the show.
No,
Though
no.
He was sent out
He
to
was
pasture it
actually-
eventually.
Yeah, Darker
Mr. Ed was
episode.
a
I
stage
did not-
name. Mr. Ed was a stage name, and he had a different name.
Okay,
He
yeah,
was a
I
real
got you.
horse, right?
Yeah.
He died in 1970. He's buried over there. And if you look up the cause of death, there's some questions. There's some
Really?
there's a lot of controversy on how he died, and they think he died of a tranquilizer overdose.
Wow.
And then they didn't tell anyone that he was dead for a long time, and they had an imposter, Mr. Ed, till 1977 or 8, a little bit later. And that fallacy was exposed on, what was it, Saturday Night Live or some other show. And
Wow.
now, okay, take that information. Gumby,
Yeah.
I looked him up on the internet.
Yeah.
He's still alive. You can buy him on eBay for $250.
Oh, yeah.
Genuine eBay Gumby.
Wait,
for
the original,
$250.
the original model or whatever for
Yeah.
Gumby?
Huh.
So, I think
Does he have a farm degree? Like a pharmacy degree?
I don't know, but I think
He's-
I think
he's
Gumby
coming in on the
actually
idea that he
killed
can-
Mr. Ed already. So
Okay.
he's already
With the
dead.
tranquilizer
and
overdose.
Gumby's not dead. Therefore, Gumby's going to win that battle because he's still alive.
Are we arguing that Gumby is immortal? I mean, is that the point you're arriving at here?
Well, apparently.
And therefore cannot be killed?
I mean, he was from what, the 19
Yeah.
what year?
He started in
60s.
the 60s.
Yeah, sure.
I watched it as a kid, so just so you know, I actually knew who he was. And yet I can still go on eBay and buy him, so he's not dead yet.
Yeah, maybe he's straight up immortal. Maybe at the end of the day he can just outlast Mr. Ed. He
Well,
doesn't
he
have to.
already did.
He doesn't
He
even have to
already did.
engage. He does, well, I'm just saying, if we put them in a hypothetical arena, if Gumby just avoids him for years on end, eventually Mr. Ed will die.
He did that, yeah.
And Gumby will outlast him and be the de
Absolutely.
facto winner.
I hope
Yes.
this inspires like a true crime podcast for really figuring out, because it sounds like foul play.
Yeah. I can see the season of Serial now. It's where she in her very staccato beats tries to lay out the conspiracy theory behind Mr. Ed's passing.
Yeah. Well, one of my things that I go off on tangents real easy, and have to do research. If you say something and it triggers a thought, then I'm all over it. And
Yeah.
you started talking about Mr. Ed, I'm like,
Sounds like you
Find out
you
more
went down a wiki
information.
hole is what you did.
I do that a lot.
I appreciate the research
That's
you
some
brought.
really interesting tidbits that I've.
Very nice.
Very well.
Raccoon dogs.
What
There's
did you
another
say?
one. Raccoon. Oh, this is about my
What-
job one time. So one of the things I do here is order science supplies for our science department, right?
Yeah.
And a few years back, we were not able to buy Minks for the anatomy class because USDA, I don't know,
I'm sorry, the animal minks?
Minks.
Got it. Okay.
For anatomy.
Yeah.
They dissect animals in anatomy, right?
Yes.
You knew
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. I had to
just making sure.
I had to clarify that the animal is
Yeah.
called a minx. Okay.
Yeah. So we couldn't buy mink. No, actually, it started out with cats, and then we had to go to minks because you can't get cats anymore. The cats were banned because too many places were getting their cats, So it went to minks, and then I just recently looked up something, and it said that minks, this is in the last couple of years, minks we may not be able to purchase them pretty soon. Well, why? What's going on with the minks? And so there's a relation to COVID and minks and China.
Oh, wow.
And then it said something about raccoon dogs. You ever heard of a raccoon dog?
I have not.
Okay.
I
So we're
looked
just
that
this is
one
all
up,
one
too.
word. Raccoon.
Raccoon.
Dog.
Raccoon
dogs.
dog.
Okay.
It's not a raccoon or a dog.
Uh-huh.
They're just weird animals that are actually related to fox.
Huh.
But I spent a whole afternoon learning about raccoon dogs and mink farms, by the way. Mink farms are a big business.
I did read about that.
Yeah.
There was they had to kill a bunch of them because they had
Yeah.
contracted it. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, random things that I find interesting.
I read this chapter book with my 6-year-old daughter where this ethereal woodland spirit called Mother Nature walked a hypothetical protagonist through the woods and introduced it to all the mammals of the world, or at least all the mammals of the forest. I do not remember raccoon dogs being introduced.
Yeah,
Raccoons,
They're only in China. You
Okay.
can't export them. They're illegal in the United States, and they're not related to raccoons or dogs.
Okay.
I'm gonna look this up.
You have to look up
It
raccoon.
makes me think of like red
Kind of
pandas.
interesting.
Red pandas kind of look like raccoons. They look like big fat. They look like raccoon. When I see raccoon dog, I see a red panda in my
But that's
head.
more like a raccoon bear.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it looks more like a raccoon bear. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting to the bottom of this.
Yeah, just fun fact. Raccoon dogs, look them up.
Okay.
So we've already learned a ton about kind of the history of the area. But
Way more than I bargained for.
Oh, I got the good stuff. You haven't got to the good stuff.
But well, so when we had the idea to come up here, we asked Robert Griffith, hey, we're looking for some people that might be interested in doing this, or that might be interested to talk to, and you were the first name that came up, and one of the things that he suggested was because you've been here, you lived here your whole life, just kind of, and you've already kind of answered this question, but anything else to share with us about the history of the area, the history of Branson?
Well, as you have learned, I like to find out interesting, weird facts, and so I do have some information that was kind of interesting.
Okay.
Everyone knows Branson. I would assume everyone knows the history of Branson, right? Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll do a quick one. 1907, Shepherd of the Hills book was written by Harold Bill Wright, and that brought some interest in the area in the early 1900s, and it became kind of a tourist destination in the early 1900s, and then and there was caving. People started getting interested in that, and that's where Marble Cave came in, and then in the 40s, White River was a very popular fishing area because mainly a lot of people got interested in the Ozarks because of the Shepherd of the Hills book, and a lot of people would come to the area for fishing. And then in the 50s, they built the Table Rock Dam, and that changed, everything with all of that happening. Around the same time, have you ever heard of Rockaway Beach, Missouri?
Yeah.
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 That was a big deal back in the 50s. It was also a tourist destination. And little known fact I discovered, back in the mid-60s, there was a big riot in Rockaway Beach. That's what changed everything about Rockaway Beach was
A riot.
a riot. 5,000 people.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Rockaway Beach used to be the happening place back in the 50s and 60s. It was like Fort Lauderdale of the Ozarks, and people, mostly college, high school kids, would come there around the 4th of July and party. And this is, 1950s, 60s party. And July 4th, mid-60s, there were 1965, 5,000 kids, and some law enforcement guy got into it with one of the people, and because he was riding on the shoulders of someone driving a motorcycle.
Oh.
And they told him not to, and he did it anyway. And a riot pursued after that. And I think there were about 127 people arrested.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
I can't believe that many people. That's like
It's
half of
true.
OTC's student body. 5,000 people.
yeah, and Pete Ray was a prosecuting attorney in the area at the time, and he actually made the comment that was recorded, written down or whatever, that he didn't want Rockaway Beach to become the next Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. So anyway, there was a lot of damage that happened because it was a pretty serious riot for that small town. And after that, it kind of tanked. And there was a lot of damage, and people were not happy with those teenagers coming into town kind of thing. And actually, I was there as a kid and remember, back in the 60s, it was a cool place. I mean, it was a busy place. It was quite the place. It's not anymore.
You can kind of see it there, right? Because it has that kind of like West Coast style little bungalows everywhere, and like
and around the same time, Silver Dollar City, 1960, opened up. Shepherd of the Hills as the play became something. Fun fact: 1962, Beverly Hillbillies filmed one of their episodes, actually several episodes, out here at Silver Dollar City on Main Street. And I
Really?
was there. I saw it.
What do you mean, you were like an extra?
No, my dad worked out there in the summers when he wasn't teaching school, and my sister and I got to go to work with my dad.
Yeah.
He would just drop us off at the front gate and meet us there at, when it's time for him to go home.
Yeah.
And we just ran wild in Silver Dollar City growing up.
That is nuts.
Fire
That
in
is
the
like
hole.
the
I can
dream of my
recite
kids, basically.
Oh yeah, but yeah, they filmed an episode of Beverly Hillbillies. That's one of the reasons their car is over here at the Ralph Foster Museum out at College of the Ozarks. So anyway, the riot, Beverly Hillbillies, and then in the 70s, 80s, that's when all the big names and shows started up and kind of became a thing.
Wow.
But I don't know.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. One other really interesting bit of information about the history. I grew up, we lived in town, and then we moved north of town into Walnut Shade, out in the country, And back in the 70s, there was an incident that happened in the Walnut Shade in this area. But this area was really bad with drugs back in the 70s. And there's a book that was written called Almost Midnight by a guy named, what's his name?
Almost Midnight.
Yes, about the history of this. Michael Cuneo, I think, something like that.
Okay.
And the incident was a guy named Darren Meese was was kind of a big drug lord in the area. And Lloyd Lawrence was his name. And one of his dealer guys, his name was Daryl Meese. And Daryl Meese ended up murdering this Lloyd out in Walnut Shade over Bear Creek. And his wife and his grandson was with them, killed them all. And then this guy went on the run with his girlfriend. And anyway, they eventually caught up with him. He went to jail, big deal here, in the Ozarks. And they sent him to Potosi up by St. Louis. And that particular year when that happened, John Paul II, Pope, was visiting St. Louis for his first ever visit to the United States, the same week that Mies was supposed to be executed. And so somehow the Pope heard about this execution, and he was really against,
Sure, yeah.
So he petitioned the governor, who was Mel Carnahan at the time, to stay the execution and not to execute this guy. And there was a lot of pressure on the governor to not do that. So he ended up not being... Yeah.
I'm showing Michael Cuneo or Cuneo.
That's it. That's
Cuneo or Cuneo.
That's the author.
Uh-huh. But just a really interesting story.
Wow.
And,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that maybe in this area that wouldn't be the story that they.
Well, the funny thing is, when I was reading through
but
this book, I'm like, oh, they talked about this party they had down at Big Rock, Bull Creek, and I'm like, oh man, that's where my sister and I used to go swimming, when we were, 16 or whatever. And oh yeah, I remember those guys on the motorcycle that used to come in. We'd leave because they were scary dudes, And the girl that ran off with this guy, she was just out of Branson High School, and I knew her. I'm like, really, married? Whoa, yeah, wow. She had quite a past. Someone I actually, So it's a small community when you grow up in Branson.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there you go.
If that was a story, like a fictional story.
No, it's based
I was
on...
going to be, I understand. I'm just saying if it was a fictional story, I'm about to be executed, but just incidentally the Pope swept in at the last minute to save my life, people would be like, this story's garbage.
It's ex machina by definition, right?
Yeah. And so, but that, you can't make this stuff up. I was just reading the description of the story. The description said this is the haunting true story of a triple murder in the Ozarks. 2 lovers on the lam and a death row inmate saved by the Pope.
Yeah, it's a good story. And I knew those people. Some
Yeah.
of them, I knew some of those people. Funny thing is, my mom had the copy of that book, and when it was her own book, not a library book. When she reads stuff, she'll make little notes in the margins and highlight, Well, that's not true. Fred knew him, and he wasn't at all, anyway, it was just kind of funny because a lot of, I grew up in Walnut Shade where a lot of this action took place.
If I had written the story, what would have actually happened is we would have found out that there was a tie-in between your past with bats in the schoolhouse and your thrill-seeking of skiing, and you were actually a vigilante by night that went and saved the day, and like a superhero origin story.
I throw one more thing in real quick.
Please.
When you asked about heroes, I have another hero that's not as serious as the one I did pick. There's a skier named Candide Throvex. He's from France.
Okay, so just...
You ever watch his...
Just Candide Throvex?
Candide.
Okay.
Candide. Thovex.
Okay.
Look up his YouTube videos if you want to see some most amazing skiing.
Okay.
And you think I'm going to say he's my hero, right? No, his camera guy.
Yes.
Seriously.
I see that stuff sometimes on like Twitter, like a guy doing a crazy tricks with the cameraman tracking him the entire time. I'm like, what? We got to give some love to the guy who's tracking.
No, I don't know. I mean, when my son and I go skiing, one of the things we like to do is take our phone out of our pocket. I'm going to video. We're gonna tape this run, okay? And I ski down with my phone like this in front of my face, chasing him down, and I'm better at it than he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's got to be harder. You don't have the pull.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I thought, if that guy's that good doing all his stuff, that guy following him in the camera. So one of my things is the people behind the scenes that you don't see or hear about. Those are my heroes. There's a lot of them, too.
That is a nice little undercurrent between the person filming the crazy snowboarder skier and the person taking care of the kids of the frontline worker in a hospital.
Those are my
Both
heroes.
the undercurrent there is consistent. You got a consistent theme there. And by the way, your career, is behind the scenes, making everybody's
Maybe
life
that's
easier.
why I noticed and think about that. Yeah.
Game recognizes game. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, Devon, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us. We've learned an incredible lot, not only about
Way more, yeah.
your work here at Branson itself, the history of OTC in Branson, your thrill-seeking as a skier and just general adventurer. It was a pleasure to meet you and talk with you. Andrew, I did not know any of that. Oh, and not to mention the true cause, or at least the true backstory of Mr. Ed's death for the first time brought to our podcast. Andrew, I did not know that. How about you?
I definitely did not know that.
And now you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.